Roche ADRs, OTCQX, RHHBY remain in a downtrend even as the company has increased its guidance, following detailed but interim Q1 results. No EPS reported, to modest organic growth this year, but high single-digit growth including the effects of last December's U.S. tax legislation. Coming into the important ASCO oncology meeting this weekend, this article provides an update on this mega-cap in view of the conflict between several pieces of positive news flow and the steady move down in the stock. RHHBY is both the world's largest biotech company and the world's largest diagnostics company. The current yield is 4.0%. I expect about a 5% increase in the dividend next year, so I am looking at this security as carrying a forward yield of 4.2%. RHHBY could cut a good deal from R. So why does the stock chart look like this, relative to the S? It's a little surprising, as slide 160 of the Q1 report linked to above shows that RHHBY has been growing faster than most big pharma companies at around 5 to 6%. So, can it more or less grow through the upcoming wave of patent expiries for the big three products it markets, the raw drugs of Rituxan, Avastin, Herceptin? The company has said it can and will, and unlike Celgene, CELG, a few years ago predicting it would grow through its 2025-era patent cliffs, how could it see so far out? The storm is visible at RHHBY, not far off. Does that make management more credible? Let's take a fresh look. The problem: RHHBY does not report full financial results quarterly, only semi-annually, but it comes close. On slide 155, it reports that in Q1, pharmaceutical sales were 10.2 billion Swiss francs, or CHF, of which half, 5.1 billion, were from the raw drugs. Of those, the split was close to one-third from each of the three. Avastin is seeing less usage as immunotherapy takes some of its market away, and all are either falling victim to biosimilars or will be at high risk of doing so in all their major markets, say, probably by 2020 at the latest. In part, RHHBY has been responding by introducing SUBCU versions of Rituxan and Herceptin, and by tying use of these drugs to combination use with new, patent-protected drugs. But mostly, it has been trying to innovate its way to growth while using these drugs as cash cows to fund both innovation and a growing dividend. Slide 10 shows a detailed overview of ways RHHBY is trying to grow through what it intends to be a series of patent slopes, not cliffs. It's a nice way for it to make its case to investors in an organized way. A brief summary of the first of the points to give a flavor of RHHBY's strategy. MabThera, aka Rituxan ex-US, will be supplanted by Gazyva, which is on the market but not selling a lot yet, Venclexta, which is on the market but has new indications planned for and which is shared with AbbVie, and an antibody-drug conjugate that is in trials, polatuzumab vedotin. All the while, the plan is for Rituxan, MabThera to keep large but declining sales for some years to come. So, each of the raw trio will live out its own life cycle as best it can as biosimilars enter the picture and newer drugs, as many from RHHBY as possible, supplant them. Then, large new opportunities, such as Ocrevus for multiple sclerosis and Hemlibra for the most common form of hemophilia, add to the case for long-term growth. Recent news on Hemlibra's clinicals, Ocrevus's sales, and on Tecentriq to in a sense help supplant all of the raw drugs caught my interest. The next sections review these, followed by a wrap-up of thoughts on investing in RHHBY. First up, Tecentriq may finally look like a blockbuster in the making. The first two PD inhibitors, or PDI drugs as I call them, were Opdivo and Keytruda. These remain the leaders, with mega blockbuster status, for BMS, BMY, and MRK. Technically, these are PD-1Is. They have a somewhat more straightforward mode of action to rev up the immune system to kill cancer cells than the PD-L1Is such as Tecentriq. There are 3 PD-L1Is on the market, of which Tecentriq was the first. The other leading one is Imfinzi. When I first bought RHHBY in Q4 2016 as I was ramping up exposure to stocks, some informed opinion was that the more complex mode of action of the PD-L1Is made them superior. RHHBY did its part to propound that view. And, when Keytruda kept showing stunning success in lung cancer and some clinical trials for some of the PD-L1Is disappointed in lung cancer and certain other trials, many thought the opposite, that the Opdivo, Keytruda class was superior. But, an argument against that view that PD-1Is were superior was that Opdivo did not succeed in frontline lung cancer. Now, very recent data suggests to yours truly that the pendulum may be balanced. Each PDI may stand on its own. In short order, we now see a positive phase 3 study on Imfinzi in stage 3 non-small cell lung cancer, NSCLC, in which the disease was stable after chemo, a nice result to see. Now, we also have the second of 2 positive related IMpower studies on Tecentriq in frontline NSCLC. The first positive results came from IMpower 150, which RHHBY updated very recently. Per the May 17 press release, this update revealed, Phase 3 IMpower 150 study showed Roche, Tecentriq and Avastin plus carboplatin and paclitaxel helped people with a specific type of metastatic lung cancer live significantly longer compared to Avastin plus carboplatin and paclitaxel, a survival advantage for the Tecentriq and Avastin combination regimen was observed in all pre-specified exploratory patient subgroups analyzed, including people with EGFR and ALK mutations, liver metastasis, and those with varying levels of PD-L1 expression. Data will be presented at the American Society of Clinical Oncology (ASCO) annual meeting on June 4, 2018. Stay tuned. More good news followed just this week. From May 29, the IMpower 130 Phase 3 study was positive, slightly edited for readability, with emphasis added. The combination of Tecentriq plus chemotherapy helped people live significantly longer compared to chemotherapy alone in the first-line treatment of advanced NSCLC. This was potentially crucial for this drug's commercial success. The data will be presented at an upcoming oncology meeting. I generally trust RHHBY as a button-down J. In addition, the press release pointed out that more news is coming. Currently, Roche has 8 Phase 3 lung cancer studies underway evaluating Tecentriq alone or in combination with other medicines. This is the third positive Phase 3 study evaluating Tecentriq alone or in combination to demonstrate an OS benefit for people with NSCLC. Assuming this data passes muster with the FDA and other global regulators, Tecentriq may begin to leave its disappointing launch behind and, bolstered by the marketing power of RHHBY in oncology, become a significant success. This has not been in the stock, so I view this latest news from the company as a help to RHHBY. Yet the stock keeps drifting lower. Let's look deeper. Ocrevus is related to the Rituxan-Gaziva complex of antibodies. Therefore, RHHBY owes royalties to Biogen BIIB. I estimate that 12% of global sales will come back to BIIB. Ocrevus was approved last year in the US, and global marketing ex-US is just getting going. It is an innovative IV drug given only every 6 months, after one loading dose. Ocrevus is the first and only MS drug approved for a severe form of the disease, primary progressive MS, or PPMS. is also approved for the much more common, chronic form, relapsing MS or RMS. RHHBY's latest investor presentation, which is a much briefer read than the Q1 report linked to above, claims on slide 15 that after only 3 quarters on the U.S. market, Ocrevus has over 7% of the market by patient count. This is quite an achievement. I am more optimistic on Ocrevus than before. Ocrevus may grow for 3 main reasons: dominating the PPMS market, perhaps gaining ultimately a 7% or greater market share from this niche, competing effectively for existing patients in the RMS market, gaining at least a 10% market share there, but with a lot of upside potential, and bringing untreated patients to accept treatment due to the convenience factor. If Ocrevus continues to appear safe, with no cancer signals seen in clinical trials that caused a little concern or other problems appearing, it could well be the top-selling MS drug, perhaps by a wide margin. Hemlibra, the last of these 3 marketed drugs, Hemlibra, has been approved for a subset of hemophiliae, namely those with inhibitors to clotting factor replacement. A recent press release describes one phase 3 result in the general population, without inhibitors. A more thorough look at Hemlibra comes from a recent presentation at a hemophilia meeting. It is a bit technical, however. Hemlibra is an antibody of the bispecific type, meaning it grabs onto not 1 but 2 different molecules, bringing them in physical apposition. In doing so, it corrects the defect in hemophilia in a novel way. It works whether or not there are inhibitors. Better, because of its structure, it should not be antigenic, i.e., it should not induce formation of inhibitors as administration of clotting factors often does. Hemlibra is given subcutaneously, not IV, which is very good. Also very good is that the final phase 3 study, Haven 4, showed that it can be administered once every 4 weeks. Actually, the results were outstanding. See slides 21 and 24 for Haven 3 results, slide 44 for Haven 4, and slides 55 to 59 for summary slides. Hemlibra is unusual in that as a novel treatment for hemophilia with inhibitors, the annual price is extremely high. To compete in the general hemophilia market, the price will have to be lowered. Perhaps RHHBY will make a deal with insurers to generate an average price, perhaps assuming that, say, 3/4 of patients will be general patients and 1/4 patients with inhibitors. Thus there could be good value-based pricing. I am therefore hopeful that Hemlibra will end up as the world's importance of blockbusters in novel fields. There can be ancillary benefits from RHHBY succeeding in new fields, in this case MS and hemophilia. One is that knowledge gained helps the next innovative drug in the field get developed. Another is that junior biotechs working on these drugs think of the company now as being among the most promising companies to pitch their development stage products to. Or, small companies may get drugs through the approval process but need help marketing them. Now RHHBY can be more of a go-to partner in MS and hemophilia-related fields. In the case of hemophilia, RHHBY is already visiting oncologists, so strengthening its presence in non-cancerous hematology is perfect. The drug reps are already there in the same department, sometimes marketing the same doctors for the company's oncology drugs. Note, sometimes it's not just the small guys who need a large player to market their wares. AMGN felt impelled to share a major, first-in-class drug, Aimovig, for migraines with Novartis, NVS, to gain experience both in clinical trial design and interpretation and in marketing. RHHBY is trying to enter several other new therapeutic categories, such as inflammatory bowel disease, autism and Alzheimer's. Risks beyond the known risks that companies disclose in their regulatory filings and elsewhere, pharma and especially biotech are out of favor. Buying into a weak, relative strength stock in an industry group that is out of favor, while the Fed is tightening monetary conditions, tends to be problematic. So a key question is RHHBY cheap yet? Maybe. It takes time to tell. And by then, the stock has, of course, reacted to the new information. Among the many variables are the most obvious ones, namely, just how fast will the profit erosion from the raw trio of mega blockbusters be? That is the most difficult part of the equation. The biosimilar story is relatively young in the EU and just getting going in the US. Complicating the projections are RHHBY's life cycle management strategies mentioned above. So there is minimal precedent to go by here. In any case, I'm going to present some back-of-the-envelope estimates of RHHBY's value on a sum-of-the-parts basis, using only marketed drugs though, assuming additional indications for Tecentriq, Hemlibra, Venclexta, etc. First part of the analysis is as follows. RHHBY market cap, $185 billion, Thursday's closing price of $26.81. Value of diagnostics division 16% of the whole equals $30 billion. Rest of company equals $155. B subtract at least $5 billion for surplus net working capital brings us to $150 billion for the value of the dominant biotech division. Are RHHBY's marketed products worth $150 billion, perhaps? This is my further breakdown and brief rationale. In two stages, raw products, $40 billion, multiply current year sales x4, then divide by half for profit contribution. Ocrevus, $30 billion, a monster product, assume $5 billion average sales by 12 years and 50% net profit margin. Tecentriq Hemlibra, $30 billion, two large products, similar combined numbers to Ocrevus alone. Obviously these are highly uncertain numbers, and very large, so deviations from them will be material. Next, further reasoning for the rest of the biotech division. On slide 156 of the large, previously linked presentation, linked again for convenience, RHHBY shows its 20 largest sellers in Q1. I went through them and left out the raw trio and declining drugs such as Tarceva. Thus I included mature drugs such as Xolair and young ones such as Perjeta and Actemra. However, this list excludes two important drugs, Venclexta and Gazyva, which could provide material profits. I calculate $12 billion in annualized sales for these heterogeneous drugs. I am estimating their value to be 5x sales, or $60 billion. All the above takes me to a guesstimate of $160 billion in value for the pharma division of RHHBY, or $10 billion over the $150 billion I previously said it needed to be worth. That omits pipeline value, which is substantial. See slide 51 from the Q1 presentation, linked again for convenience, for the numerous late-stage new molecular entities that could help the cause. Overall, this sort of rough estimation of value leads me to think that RHHBY, at this price, may represent the single best value in all of pharma. Note, however, how much guesswork is involved to get to this thinking. Please do not rely on it in any way for any financial decisions you make. Summary and concluding comments. In summary, RHHBY provides a conundrum. A financially and operationally strong company is seeing its stock move lower. Is this the 1998-9 phenomenon again, where if a stock or sector was out of favor, it was lights out indefinitely until sentiment turned? I just don't know. But having been emphasizing value rather than momentum, I like what I see in RHHBY. Previously, at higher stock prices of RHHBY, I had been calling it an attractive bond substitute. With better news flowing in and a lower stock price, I am getting more hopeful that new money entering now could see more alpha than a mere bond substitute would provide. We will learn more at ASCO, and beyond. Thanks for reading and sharing any comments you wish to provide. Disclosure, we are long RHHBY, ABV, BMY, CELG. I wrote this article myself, and it expresses my own opinions. I am not receiving compensation for it, other than from seeking alpha. I have no business relationship with any company whose stock is mentioned in this article. Additional disclosure, not investment advice. I am not an investment advisor. Editor's note, this article discusses one or more securities that do not trade on a major U.S. exchange. Please be aware of the risks associated with these stocks.